Welcome. My name is Michelle Dutrissa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stamping Up. Sorry, I've been running a little bit late. I'm just still, sorry, just setting up there a little bit more. Let me just move my screen so you can see me. I hope it's all clear. Please jump on and say hello and let me know where you're from if this is the first time that you've been on here. Today we're going to have a little bit of fun and we're going to create some Scandinavian stars. Now, I don't know what you do, but at the end of most of our catalogues, I'm always left with a lot of designer series paper that's left over. And it's always a big question, what do you do with it? Well, you can collect it, you can give it away, hoard it, whatever. But I have found a great way, I did this a few years back, of making some Scandinavian stars. Now, generally these are made out of fabric or out of ribbon, but I've made them out of paper. And I use them as Christmas decorations, thank you gifts. A few years back, I used to sell them as well. And I thought today what we'd do, since we finished our annual catalogue about a month or so ago, and we're just about to finish one of our mini catalogues, and I'm sure, like me, you've got a lot of paper to use up. So if you want to make a Scandinavian star with me, what you do need is 4 strips of designer series paper. You can't use cardstock, unfortunately, because it's just too thick. You need your designer series paper. And they're going to be cut 4 centimetres in width by 30 centimetres. So I'm going to flip over my camera, and if you're quick and like to go and grab some cardstock, then how about making one with me and we'll make them together. So let me just flip my camera. As I said, please jump on and say hello and let me know that you're watching. So let me just flip this over and just check I've got everything lined up, because as I said, I am running a little bit late. So okay, let's go. Okay then, so I hope you can see that. It looks like my camera is a little bit on the wonky. Let me just move that and see if I can straighten that up a bit. Okay then. So this is what a Scandinavian star looks like. I'm going to show you the back of this. And this is pretty much what we're going to make today in these bright colours. I've used 4 colours and I've used it out of the discontinued tulip paper. You could do it all in the same paper if you like. I love this using the bright colours, but the reason why I'm doing 4 different colours and in bright colours is that you can actually see each of the steps as we work along. So just to show you a few of the others I've got here. Again, these are all made up out of discontinued papers, and I've just put a little bit of twine that I've had here. You could use baker's twine, you could probably even use a ribbon, and I'll show you how I've done that so you can hang that up. Now these are just going to make nice little thank you gifts to people who place orders through me between now and Christmas. And a few of them might even end up on some Christmas trees. Now this one here, if I flip it back over to the right side, what I've done is I've just added a little bit of decoration to it also with my thank you on there. So they are thick and they are quite sturdy. They will last for quite a while. You can make them even a little bit smaller. This one here has been made out of a strip of designer series paper, which is only 3 centimetres in width. This one here has been made out of designer series paper that's cut 4 centimetres in width. If you cut them any bigger than this, you may need a piece of paper that's longer than 30 centimetres. So that's why I'm sticking to those 2 sizes. You could make them even smaller than that, but I don't think you'd be able to get down to using just a 6-inch piece of paper, because there's a little bit of excess we cut off, but not a huge amount. So let me just pop all of these to one side, and I'm going to start off with bringing my trimmer in. Now again, as I said before, I am using some bright colours so you can work along with me and see what we're doing. So these are the papers that I'm using. They are discontinued papers. You can mix and match. What I generally do is grab a whole stack of discontinued paper and just cut it up into strips. I mean, you can see here, this is the one I used from this one, which was from Christmas a couple of years ago. And I've just cut that all into 4 centimetre strips. Okay. So, and then I just have those on hand for when I have a time that I just want to sit and do nothing much but make stars. It was great when I was doing the markets because I could always sit there and while I was selling my stuff, be making those, and people would actually intrigue people enough to come to my stall. So I'm going to grab my 4 colours here. I'm going to use the same sides. You can see if I flip them over, you've got the tulips on the other side, but I'm just going to use these plainer sides. It doesn't really matter how decorative your paper is, and you could also even mix and match all your papers. I know one year I had all sorts of different Christmas papers with musical notes and everything on it. So we're going to cut this 4 centimetre strip, which is just, you could even do it at a 2.5. 4 centimetres is just that little bit bigger than 2.5 inches. And we're going to cut 4 strips, 1 in each piece. So I hope you've all had a great week. I'm sorry I couldn't be with you last week for my live. I was away at an embroidery retreat and had a lovely time there. So now this will be on my YouTube as well as my Facebook. So if you do miss this, you can go back and watch it again on my YouTube channel. So there we are. We've got 4 strips there at 4 centimetres in width. So I'm just going to pop that away. Now you do need a pair of snips for this, and you will need your bone folder. Later on you'll need some sort of twine and some glue dots and scraps of your basic white if you want to decorate your star like I've done there. But we're just really going to concentrate on these stars today. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to take each piece of designer series paper and we're going to fold it in half. Now you can score it if you want it 2 centimetres, but I actually find it's actually a lot easier to fold this in half by hand and just folding it all the way down. And you're going to do that on each of those strips of designer series paper, making sure that you have lined up your edges quite well and give it a really good burnish with your bone folder. As I said before, please jump on and say hello so I know that you're here and watching with me. So let's just take the time and fold it. As I said, love it if you've got your cardstock handy and you want to join me in making one of these. I'll just make sure I do this on screen. I'm just pinching that together just to make sure those edges are nice lined up, and then I'm just going over it with my bone folder, just making sure that those folds are nice and crisp. One more to go. Again, just pressing that down, making sure that that is well and truly nicely folded there. Okay, now the next thing I'd like to do is you've got your folded edge and you've got your cut edges, and I like to just pop them on either side like that. Let me move those out of the road with those folds facing inwards. Okay, now there is a reason for this. This is just going to help me to make sure that I've got all my folds going in towards the center. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fold these pieces not in half, but not quite halfway. So I'm just folding it. I don't know whether you can see there, but I've got about half an inch, 2 centimeters difference, and I'm just going to crease the end here. So I'm folding it in half, but it's not halfway where it's going right to the edge. Now that is so then we have a right and a wrong side. So we're going to keep these like this, but this one is folded slightly shorter. So again, so that one is folded that way with our open ends here on this side. With this one up the top, we're going to fold it in the opposite direction. So again, I've got my cut edges of this strip facing into me. We're going to fold this one this way. Again, just roughly 2 centimeters difference in length. I'm just going to just turn that around for a bit so I can actually fold these and crease the end. So we've got now those two folded. So again, just so I can go over this another time with you, I've got my cut edges going into the middle. I've got this piece folded going in that direction, this piece folded going in the opposite direction. So this one's opened here on my left-hand side, this one's opened on my right-hand side. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing again. This time we're going to fold this piece down, but not quite all the way to the bottom, making sure all those edges are all nicely lined up. If you need to, you might need to bring that bone folder in there just to give you a nice crease. We want to make sure everything's nice and straight. We're going to fold this one with the opening going down towards the bottom, again with the top piece slightly shorter than the long one. And then on this side, we're going to fold up, again, not as long as the other one. And again, just crease that with my bone folder. So keeping these all in those pieces like that. Okay, so we're still carrying that square. Now this is to help me when I put these together. Have you played the game as a kid at school or scouts or wherever, where everyone puts their hand into the center and you grab so you put everyone puts one hand in and you grab the hand of the person or the wrist of the person in front of you. So you're going to end up with something like that, and then all four of you, and you sort of got one hand in. This is a similar sort of thing to that, but we're doing it with paper. So if we take this piece here, we're going to open this one up and we're going to pop that inside just like that. The bottom one here, we're going to open this up, take these two open ends and pop that inside just like that. So this is where we're forming that sort of look. So if I had another hand here, that'd be grabbed there, someone would grab this one here, and then another person would come down and grab my wrist here, and this person's wrist would be grabbing the other one, if you can see that. Now this last piece, we're going to take that, fold that open. These two pieces here are going to go on the inside. Then this piece here, we're going to put these two together and we're going to thread that through in between there. So if you can imagine, as I was saying before, like our hands, if these were four people, everyone's put one hand in, this person's grabbed, sorry, say this this person's grabbed the wrist of that person, this person's grabbed the wrist of that person, this person's grabbed the wrist of that person, and this one's that one. So we're forming that crossover. So we're weaving these together to form that square. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to pull these tight. So I'm going to take these two, bring them together like that, and then bring it down, pull this one across because there's my cut edges there. My loop is on this side here. So I'm going to pull that one across. Again, I've got my open edges there, and I'm going to pull that one across that way. So then when I pull all of those nice and tight, or push them in nice and firmly, it's forming that square in the middle made up of 4 the smaller squares. Now, as you can see, there's my shorter ends. Now, this is what side we're going to call our front, and this is how we tell which one is our front, because it's got the shorter ends. Once we've done that, we're going to flip this over, and now we're going to work on the back. This whole star is done by working on the front first and then turning it over and doing exactly the same sort of thing, but working on the back. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this top piece here, we're going to fold it down, and you can burnish that if you want with your bone folder. You want to keep these fairly firm. Then we're going to take this top piece, okay, we're going to fold it over the top. Now this is where a little bit of weaving comes involved. So then we're going to lift this one back up again. We're going to fold that down and fold that over the top. Okay, so let me just see if you've got that. Now what we're going to do, we want to make sure that we have this one here a little bit looser. We don't want to pull that too tight at the moment. So I've just, if you can see that, I've just loosened that up a little bit. So I'm not pulling that really firmly as yet. Then I'm going to take this one here, okay, this side one, and again I'm going to fold it over. Okay, so we're weaving in a square, and then we're going to take this piece here and we're going to take it through this red one. So this purple one is going to go fold up and go through that one there. And you can pull that one tight. So you can pull all of those 3 now nice and tight. You can get your bone folder, give that nice crisp fold there. And then this red one here, we're going to now finish by pulling that one firmly across. Give it a good rub down with your bone folder and make sure that it's nice and firm, just like that. So once we've done that, we now need to form these peaks. Again, as we've done with this one, we work on one side, then we're going to flip it over and work on the other side. Now, if you have a look at what you've got here so far, you've actually got, and I'm not quite sure whether you're going to be able to see it, but this one here has just got like the one layer of paper, whereas this one here is considerably thicker. If I turn it around, I've got like a very thin layer of paper there, or just one fold of paper there, and this one here is considerably thicker. And that's exactly the same all the way around. So you'll have one which is almost flat with this, just one piece of paper going across, and this one here which has got quite a bit of thickness in here. We're going to be starting with that thick one. Okay, so in this case here, if I turn it back into the position we had before, this green one here is the thicker portion just in that folded area there. Now we're going to fold this, and we're going to take this green piece and we're going to fold it a quarter like that underneath itself. So what I've done, let me show you again, is I've taken that piece there and I'm folding it underneath to form that 45-degree angle. And I'm going to get my bone folder and just crease that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to make sure that that's nice and straight. Okay. I want to fold this piece down now to come back down here, but I need to leave a little bit of a gap in between. So I'm going to take this green piece, and again we're going to fold it to make a 45-degree angle going down, but I want a little bit of a gap. So let me just hold this up so you can see. So what I've done, I've taken this green piece, folded it across, and then folded it down like so. The reason why we have a little bit of a gap, and when I fold that down, I put my fingernail there so I can, it's about 1 millimeter to 2 millimeters, and fold that down, because we're now going to take this piece and fold it across itself, just like that. And I'm going to rub that with my bone folder there. So that's why we needed to leave that gap in there. So then we've got a little bit of room to fold that across. Now this is how we lock all this in together. We're going to take our scissors, our snips, and what I'm going to do is this is my open edge here, my cut edge, and this is my folded edge. And what I am going to do, I'm just going to turn it around a little bit. I'm going to cut this at an angle. Now, in the instructions I've seen for these before, I think it says to cut it straight. But being paper, I find cutting this at an angle is quite helpful for tucking this in, because we don't have the pliability that they have with using ribbon or fabric. So I'm going to cut this at an angle, and the angle I'm looking at is, if I can grab a pencil, I might just draw this in so you can see it. If there's my square, there's my red piece there. So I'm going to come down roughly halfway there, and I'm going to cut it at an angle like that. So basically I'm sort of imagining, or let me just cut this away so you can see. If I cut that away there, I've formed a square, okay, which is the same size as that area in there. But I'm just going to trim this piece here at an angle, and this just helps me to get these pieces in from about roughly halfway down to that corner. Don't have to be precise about that. That's just approximate. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece and we're going to slip it into that folded piece just there. So I'm going to take this corner and I'm going to slip it into that folded piece, and by cutting that at an angle, that is helping me to be able to slip that into that there. Now I've got there a little bit hard to get in, so what I can do, I'm going to keep my length there, but I'm going to shorten that angle just that little bit more. So I'm just shortening that, pop that into there, and then that will just slide in to that little hole, and that's going to stay in that position. I'm now going to work on the next one. Remember, we're working on the one that's got the thicker fold, okay, and we're going to turn that to the back at a 45-degree angle. Use our bone folder to crease that. Okay, let me just square this up so you can see it. I'm just going to give that a bit of a crease there. I'm going to pop my fingernail about 1 to 2 millimeters away from that point that we've caused at the top, and I'm going to fold that again down at a 45-degree angle. Give that a really good burnish to make sure that that is nice and tight, and then we're going to fold that over in half again for that point there. Grab my scissors, Again, on the cut edge of that piece of paper, I'm going to go roughly halfway down to that corner there like that. Then take that piece and tuck it right in to there. Okay, so what we're doing is we're forming one of these points on each side of that square. So we're going to work on this one again, because this one here is fairly flat. This one here has got quite a step down. It's got a little bit of thickness there. So we're going to turn that at a 45-degree angle going underneath. Give that a good burnish with our bone folder. Again, put my fingernail there about 1 to 2 millimeters away from that fold to form a point. Turning again at a 45-degree angle. Burnish. Fold that in on itself. Now, sometimes your paper will sort of buckle a little bit. That's okay, because we're going to cut a lot of that away. Give that a good burnish there. Again, trim off that excess that we don't want to form that angle. If you're a little bit worried there, just cut that away a little bit more there, and then tuck that in. So there's our third one done. Now we're going to do our fourth one, folding again underneath at that 45 degrees. Burnish with our bone folder. Hold that down a couple of millimeters away from that center point. Fold, burnish. You can sort of refold this if you burnish that down if you want to, just to make sure that's nice and fine. Fold that in half. Trim away like that, and then tuck that piece in as well. Okay, so that's what we're going to be finished with. So now you should have a point on each side of that. Now again, like we did really earlier, we're going to flip this over to the other side. So then again, we're going to be left with a side that has got almost flat, and then another side which we've got a thick piece here, and we're going to repeat this all over again. So again, just burnish that down, a couple of millimeters there, or 1 to 2 millimeters. Fold, burnish, fold that in, or fold it in half. Trim away that excess, and I'm just going to take that little bit more of an angle. And pop that in. So there's now our two sides of our star. So again, the tighter you make this in here, you'll have not much of a gap there too. Again, a couple of millimeters, 1 to 2 millimeters. Fold. Make sure that's pressed nicely. Fold that in half. Once you get the hang of this, it doesn't really take that long at all to make a few of these. And a few years ago, I used to sell these at the markets and at a shop that I took my things to, and they used to sell out. But just a nice little thank you gift that you can make and give to someone, especially leading up to Christmas. And it's a good way just to get rid of all of those long scraps of designer series paper that you may not want to use anymore. But as far as making cards are concerned, whoops, I forgot to fold this, so I'm going to have a bit of a tricky, I've cut that at the wrong angle. I'm not thinking what I'm doing, so I'm just going to come back in. That's going to remove. That's okay, because that's going to get tucked right in there and you're not even going to know that I made a mistake. Okay, so we're going to fold that there again at a 95-degree angle. You can use your fingers. You don't always need to use your bone folder, as long as you can put a little bit of weight. Remember, fold that in half before you trim away your paper. And we're going to have the length of our point on that folded edge of our designer series paper. And that just allows it to get that longer edge in there first. And being long, that's going to really hold that in place nicely. So once you've done that, there is your Scandinavian star. So that's how simple. So all I've done now is I've grabbed a piece of twine. Now this has been left over from a couple of years ago. And I'm just going to cut roughly a 20-centimeter piece or an 8-inch piece. Fold it in half. And just tie those ends together in a knot. Just got a little knot there, and then I'm going to grab my, okay, where have I put it? Okay, well, I've got a new one here. So your mini glue dots. Gee, my brain has just gone blank. I did have a roll of them here somewhere. So we're going to grab our mini glue dots and we're going to pop a glue dot onto the end of our piece of ribbon here. Give that a really good press so that comes off. And then this is where I grab this tool here, which is a fantastic tool, a take a pick tool, and I'm just sort of the point of that is in that knot. Now you've got like a little pocket here. So what I do is I actually push this. I'm going to use my scissors just so you can see. I'm going to take that knot into that pocket, but then into the center. So it's going to go down and then across a little bit. So, and I'm going to try to put that knot around about that far down, and that's just going to hold that piece of cord in place. So I'm going to open that up a little bit, pop it in there, and then push it towards that center. Put my thumb on there and pull it out, and that's going to give me that cord right there in the middle. Okay, so you could leave that just like that if you just wanted to give them just like that, or you can decorate it like the one I have done here, which is this one here. And all I've done is I've used the punch, which cuts these lovely little leaves out, and I've cut one out in gold and one out in vellum. Now let me just have a look here and just see where I've got any spare. No, so I'm just going to grab my piece of vellum here, and I'm just going to cut I've got both pieces there in my vellum. Let me just grab some of this gold. So I'm just going to use this. Now this time I might use the rose gold because I always use the gold, and I've got so much rose gold left. And I'm just going to cut another pair out in the rose gold. Yeah, I think it still works. It would be good if that was in rose gold as well, but that's okay. So I'm just going to pop my little vellum leaf on there first. Now, with these leaves, I do, because I'm going to put that circle on there, I want those leaves coming out a little bit longer. Don't be tempted to have that leaf sort of going from corner to corner of your square, because otherwise, once you put your little circle die cut on there, you are going to lose it. And then I'm going to pop that one there over the top. Just hold it there for a couple of seconds just to let that dry. So while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm just going to move all those out of the road. And I'm going to grab a piece of my basic white. Now the stamp I'm using just says thank you, and that actually comes from the Etched in Nature, because I just wanted a little thank you. And I'm using the smallest circular die from the Stylish Shape dies. Okay, so we're just going to use our Memento Black. So you only really want a fairly small sentiment on this. We're just going to stamp that up. Add our thank you. Doesn't matter that that's going to be a bit crooked, because we're going to just cut that out with a circle. Grab my mini cut and emboss. Pop my plates in there, and that. And we just move this so you can actually see. There we go. I'll pop my little die cut on there. Pop that in and run that through our mini cut and emboss machine. So once we've done, we're left with that cute little sentiment. We're going to bring in our piece here, and I'm going to grab some dimensionals. Let me have a look. I only need probably one dimensional on this. Just pop that on there. You could put two on if you wanted to. And then just pop a little thank you over the top, just like that. So there you are. Very, very simple to make. Something that's a little bit different to card making, but still using your designer series paper, and a good way to use up some of those 12 by 12 pieces of designer series paper that you're not quite sure what you're wanting to do. And they are something a little bit fun to make. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and thank you very much for joining us. Now let me just flip my camera over to myself again. So it's just a very short and quick video today. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the Scandinavian Stars made, and I'd love it if you could share with what you make with me on my Facebook page. So I hope you've enjoyed that. Thanks for joining me, and I will catch up with you again next Friday as we make something else with our Stampin' Up products. So bye for now. Take care. And if you need any catalogues and you live here in Australia, please just contact me and let me know, and I can get one out to you. Okay. Have a fantastic day and a lovely weekend. Bye for now.